Good afternoon, lovely humans. I hope that you guys are doing well on this beautiful afternoon. It is currently 21 minutes past 1, and you're tuned into sSoRadio. Today, we're going to be delving into a segment called Move Towards the Memory Mix. In this segment, we're going to be exploring a hodgepodge of all things nostalgia, darling. We're going to be taking a close look at Miley Cyrus's anniversary special to celebrate 20 years of Hannah Montana with Disney+. We're going to be taking a close look at our top 10 live action TV shows from when we were growing up. We're going to be looking at a few Easter eggs that we may or may not have noticed. I actually just noticed one Easter egg and it tickled me to the core, and I just went down this rabbit hole of trying to find Easter eggs. So we're going to chat about that in this segment today. We're also going to be talking about the shows that you absolutely loved growing up, but no one remembers them. And it looks like you have lost a couple of, screws. When you bring them up at social gatherings, people are like, you know what, darling, we used to play with marbles growing up, but it seems like you have lost yours. You know what I mean? Don't worry. This is a safe space. We're going to be chatting about all of that in this segment called Move Towards the Memory Mix. Now,
I'm going back to the past. It really been minimal.
Let's start right at the top. Miley Cyrus to celebrate 20 years of Hannah Montana with Disney Plus with an anniversary special. 2 decades after Hannah Montana's first premiere, Miley Cyrus is stepping back into the world that launched her career for a new anniversary event on Disney Plus. The Hannah Montana 20th anniversary special will debut on the 24th of March, filmed before a live studio audience. The program includes an in-depth conversation between Cyrus and Call Her Daddy host Alex Cooper, along with rare archival footage and recreated set pieces, including the Stewart's family living room and the show's signature closet transformation space. Oh, absolutely beautiful. Now, before we get carried away, let's play the classic. Oh, darling. And that laugh, just a beautiful cherry on top. That is the Hannah Montana absolutely goated theme song. I was having a conversation with a friend the other day, and she was just saying that, do you know that like Gen Alpha, majority of Gen Alpha, generalized statement, Gen Alpha doesn't know Hannah Montana or Miley Cyrus. They don't know that character. And I was just shocked. I was like, what? What do you mean? What do you mean? Absolutely insane to me. And it made me realize that like, Hannah Montana could technically be categorized as a classic. Guys, we're getting old. We are getting old. Something is generally considered a classic when it reaches 20 to 30 years of age. Though the term often signifies timeless quality, lasting appeal, and cultural impact, rather than just a specific fixed age, I was just like, that's crazy to me. That's absolutely crazy to me. But without a doubt, and I think a lot of people will agree that, the Hannah Montana theme song is absolutely goated. It is up there as one of the best theme songs for a live action TV show of all time. Argue with yourselves, darling. So, we're chatting Hannah Montana, we're chatting the celebration, and I'm going to read some unpopular opinions that people have shared around Hannah Montana. Let's see what people have got to say, but I'd also love to hear your thoughts, so do leave them in the comment section down below. Someone wrote, on my rewatch, I thought Miley was a bit rude and unlikable. Yeah, everything is 2020 in hindsight. Someone else wrote, Hannah Montana Forever was my least favorite season. You could tell Miley Cyrus was so not into being Hannah at that point. The Jake cheating storyline was awful. Heck, even the whole college storyline was trash. I get that they had to have Miley reveal the secret since the show was ending, but it was so painful to watch. The biggest sin they committed was not including any of the storylines from the movie into the actual show. Interesting. Someone else wrote Johnny Cobain Blues character should have been a regular because they were cute together, but I get it because they had a slight age gap in real life, and also High School Musical was taking place at the time, but the dynamic would have been interesting because she would have had to juggle dating a regular boy and being a pop star. Lol, maybe just something, just saying this because I have been obsessed with Corbin Blue lately. Okay, girl, we see you, girl. One thing that I remember, when I was watching the show growing up, like a whole playground conversation was around the fact that, Robbie Ray was Miley Cyrus's dad in real life. That was such a gasp moment for us when we were watching the show. And I remember just being oh my gosh, what? And we had conversations about it. It was really cool. Another thing that I found interesting on the playground was just around how, I don't know if you guys had this as well. There were some kids who were just able to mimic and impersonate, these characters, like your Hannah Montana, your Miley Cyrus, like even your That's So Raven and your Ant Farm. I remember Ant Farm was also like one of the characters that like kids were able to mimic, and it was just so entertaining. It was like we were watching Disney during break time. It was absolutely, I was not one of those kids. But it was just absolutely fascinating, guys. The kids were able to do that. I found that very cheapers. I was like, how do you guys do the accents? How do you guys turn yourselves into these characters? That's so fun and quirky and cool. So that was fascinating to me. Someone else wrote that Jackson's resentment towards Miley is validated. We think it's just Jackson being Jackson, typical sibling rivalry, but his emotions are actually profound, and Robbie Ray failed both of them in that aspect. I know he had to be a widowed father of two, which mustn't have been easy, but the least he could have done was make sure that his children didn't bully or taunt each other, sometimes even damaging each other's reputation or humiliating them. Yeah, I think when we look back at these shows, sometimes we just see the moral failings of, the different characters, or we just see the shows and how they were just a little bit, tense. Yeah, anyway, let's delve back into, Hannah Montana. Who was your favorite character? Guys? My absolute favorite character was Rico. Guys, I loved Rico.
Hola, amigos. Get ready for a fiesta in your mouth. It's Rico's Empanada Extravaganza.
He was my absolute favorite. Guys, I loved him so much. I didn't understand how he, was an adult but a child at the same time, and I find that so amusing. How are you running a shop? How are you doing stock take? How are you an employer? That was hilarious to me. I just absolutely loved Rico. He was my favorite character. Who was your favorite character? I remember he even moved on to the show Kicking It With You. And I think I watched that show solely because Rico was in it or something, I think. But yeah, Rico was my favorite character in Hannah Montana. Who was yours? Please let me know. We are taking a close look at Hannah Montana. This is on the back of Miley Cyrus to celebrate, 20 years of Hannah Montana with Disney Plus, and she's releasing an anniversary special, which is debuting on the 24th of March on Disney Plus, and we're just talking all things Hannah Montana. So let me know what, some of your unpopular opinions are about the show. Is hindsight 2020 for you? Do you agree that, the theme song is goated? You really can't argue with that one. You know what I'm saying? What are some of the things that you remember around the show that sort of changed your perception about things, or taught you a thing or two? Let me know what all those things are, and who was your favorite character? Let me know. We're going to be delving into the second part of this segment, your top 10 live action TV shows from when you were growing up. What were they, my darlings? Do let me know. Now, my top 10, favorites. And I have to keep it on there, Hannah Montana. It was definitely on there. Now, the shows that we are looking at, are not your cartoons. They're not any sort of like cartoon type things. We're going to look at that another day. Now we're just looking at live action films. Live action TV shows that you watched growing up. And I say growing up because something that I found actually quite, I didn't think of this, but I also, I thought of this, but I didn't really think of it. We are, different generations. I'm technically considered a Gen Z, right? There's your millennials, there's your Gen Alphas, but there's also this weird beginning Gen Z, end Gen Z, beginning millennial, end millennial, beginning Gen Alpha, end Gen Alpha. It's just like a whole interesting situation. But what are the shows that you watched as your generation growing up? Because I realized some of the ones that I've listed won't be everyone's won't be everyone's top 10, right? Because of the different generations and age gaps. And I'm not talking about, it was very hard for me to actually narrow this down. I will not be talking about shows outside of your kids channels, right? So to me in my brain, shows like Hanging with Mr. Cooper, Sister, One-on-One, although they could maybe be categorized as late teens, early 20s type shows, I watched them as a child and I would consider them to be childhood live action shows, but they're really not meant for children, but I watched them as a child. So I won't be talking about those. I won't be delving into those. I'll just be sticking to your Disneys and your whatevers. All right. So like I said, the first one, Hannah Montana, is staying on there, right? Hannah Montana is staying on there. My absolute favorite, guys, Wizards of Waverly Place. Not my absolute favorite, because I'll chat about my absolute favorite just now, but it was one of my favorites. I absolutely love that show. I'm surprised my parents allowed me to watch Wizards of Waverly Place because it was, witchcraft and, all that stuff. And so I'm quite surprised that, this one is making the list because I watched it quite a bit. Wizards of Waverly Place. That's so Raven, my darling. What a goated show. Even Stevens. Now, this one is a little bit of an interesting situation for me. I only put this on the list because I think it's one of the first ever live action shows I watched when we first got, your DSTV decoder. This was one of the first ones that I watched. It came out on the 17th of June 2000 and only premiered, it only aired for 3 years. So from 2000 to 2003 was, the show running time. And I just remember being so fascinated by the show. Shia LaBeouf's character to me was very witty. I really liked his character. I liked the show. I can't even tell you why, but I remember it as being one of my first introductions to spicy, witty, interesting, playful children type situation. That's the show for me. Even Stevens it made it on the list. Now, some honorable mentions before I continue, right? Because I know these shows may be on some of your guys' list. Sam and Cat, iCarly, Victorious, Drake and Josh, Big Time Rush, Zoe 101, the whole shebang on Nickelodeon. Never delved into those guys, my dogs. I never latched on, and I can't tell you why. Maybe there was some kind of Nickelodeon Disney beef. Was there? I don't know. I can't tell you why I never latched onto these shows. I just never watched them. I would see them on the guide or whatever, and whenever they would come on, skip. You know what I mean? I never really delved into any of them, but I know a lot of people, they have left a nostalgic sized dent in people's hearts and honorable mentions. All right. But as for me, darling, no. Okay, let's dive back into my list. Liv and Maddie, Stuck in the Middle. I'm going to put those two there, but they are there, but they're not there. They are there, but they're not there. You know why? Because these shows came out when I was a little bit older. And I think I watched them because my little brother is 6 years younger than me. And so he was coming up and those shows were coming out and all of that stuff. I was well into my teen years and I started watching your Prison Breaks, your whatevers. And so these were kind of there, but they were not there. But I could tell that they're the kind of shows that I would have loved or enjoyed watching had I been a little beginning. All right. Liv and Maddie and Stuck in the Middle. Right. Now, I want you to put a pin on Stuck in the Middle because I want to play a little bit of an Easter egg for you guys. I want to play a Stuck in the Middle Easter egg for you guys that I consider an Easter egg, but I don't think everybody else will. But it's fine. So we're putting a pin in Stuck in the Middle, right? And then we're moving on. And I want to just... Guys, can I put this on the list? I don't think everyone will agree with me on this, but it's fine. This is my way of giving this show its flowers. Absolutely goated show, Mr. Maker. Mr. Maker, let me play the theme song for you guys. Mr. Maker. Mr. Maker. Mr. Maker. show is absolutely goated. This Mr. Maker is a series of arts and craft projects geared towards preschool aged children. It includes songs, dancing, and lots of fun characters who help Mr. Maker with his exploits. I absolutely loved the show because I feel like it really ignited my imagination. Like, it wasn't just a show that I watched, but I could engage, I could play along type of thing. Mr. Maker used to make crafts with household items, so I could also do it. You know, he used like old toilet paper rolls, used bottle caps, bottles, like things that I could find, tissue paper, newspaper, paint. Guys, I love that show. I absolutely loved it. And back home, I still have this like piggy bank that I made. It's technically not a piggy bank, it's like a doggy bank because I made like a dog's face out of like paper mache. And guys, I still have it there as a souvenir from when I was a beginning. That show, it deserves its flowers, and that's why it's on my list. Maybe it doesn't really fall into this category like it should, but I'm just putting it there. I'm just putting it there, okay? It's there for me and you together to just say hello, congratulations, love you, giving you your flowers, Mr. Maker. Now, my absolute favorite show, right? My absolute favorite show. Okay, before we delve into my absolute favorite show, let's segue a little bit back to Stuck in the Middle, right? Because my brain will not come back. Guys, this is an Easter egg that I found from Stuck in the Middle. Okay, before I play this Easter egg for you, let me read a little bit about the premise of Stuck in the Middle for you guys, right? Let me read the premise. Stuck in the Middle is a show centered around Hailey Diaz. She comes from a family with 7 kids and is stuck right in the middle. Determined to find inventive means to stand out, she must learn to navigate the challenges of her not-so-average sized family. With a lot of determination, Hailey and her family will prove that they can accomplish anything as long as they stick together. Now, that's the premise of the story, right? And Hailey Diaz's character is played by Jenny Ortega. Now, the first episode premiered on the 14th of February 2016, and oh my gosh, I'm just realizing that it's also celebrating its 10-year anniversary this year. Now, the reason why I want to play us this little Easter egg is because Jenna Ortega is the actress that plays Hailey Diaz's character. And listen to
a lot of sympathy from this crowd.
I'm sorry, sweetie, but we just can't squeeze in the part today.
This is what happens when there are 7 kids and you're stuck in the middle. If my family was a week, that would be Wednesday.
Gasp!
Not the beginning of the week where everyone's full.
Gasp out loud. Gasp out loud. Now, if you haven't caught on the gist, my darling, it's because Jenna Ortega plays Wednesday on the Netflix special. No? Not an Easter egg for you? Okay, boring. Boring. I just loved that. I was just like, I love that. Me personally, absolutely loved that. Yeah, they caught me. Me loves that. Anyway, that's that little Easter egg situation there. And then I read a couple of more, like I went down this rabbit hole of reading like a bunch of Easter eggs, guys. These shows are just laced with Easter eggs, and I love a good Easter egg. Oh, I love a good Easter egg. Oh, I love it. Anyway, so The Incredibles in Coco, right? We find The Incredibles in Coco. As Miguel and Hector walk around the land of the dead in Coco, they pass a poster with a few familiar faces. Does this mean that the Incredible family has come to an end? Or does the land of the dead produce its own movies with skeleton actors? And I found that really cheeky. I love that. I absolutely love that. Another Easter egg was Buzz Lightyear in Finding Nemo. In Finding Nemo, a visit to Dr. Sherman's dentist office means you can play with a bunch of cool toys in a nautical-themed waiting room, including Buzz Lightyear. Viewers also think that the teddy bear is the same one that Boo had in Monsters, Inc. Isn't that cute? Now, this is a last Easter egg. I realize that these Easter eggs don't tie in with our live-action TV shows, but just bear with me, darling. Be adventurous for a little while. Now, this Easter egg, which I find very, very, like, I don't know how I feel about this Easter egg, but it's an Easter egg nonetheless. Scar might be the main attraction in Hercules. Ha ha. Have you ever noticed how Scar makes an appearance in the 1977 Hercules? The hyenas may have finished him off originally, but Hercules can be spotted proudly wearing his hind in the movie. I found that one very interesting. That's one of my favorite out of all the Easter eggs I've read, minus the stuck in the middle Wednesday. Guys, come on, give that one to me. I think that one is really cool, really interesting, really funny. Now, to end off our top 10 live action TV shows from when we were growing up, Kindly let me know what yours are. Pop it in the comment section down below. I'd love to know what your shows are. We are exploring a segment called Move Towards the Memory Mix, where we trail down a hodgepodge of all things nostalgia. We took a close look at Miley Cyrus's Hannah Montana celebration. We just had a little wink into that space. We are looking at our top 10 live action TV shows from when we were growing up, some honorable mentions here, there, everywhere. Now, the last one, and my absolute favorite of all time, is a show called Dark Oracle.
What just happened here? It's all the comics' fault.
Now, this show no one has heard of, which is why it's going to be a segue into shows that you absolutely loved, but no one remembers. They think you've lost your marbles. They think you've lost all your marbles. But you absolutely love that show and you can swear by it. This is that show for me, Dark Oracle. In my 20 plus years of living, not a single soul has watched this movie. Not a single soul. Like, I come across people who have watched it on the internet, but never in person. I've never come across an actual being walking around who has watched this show. It's actually crazy. Dark Oracle is one of my is actually my favorite live action TV shows growing up. The show follows the adventures of teenage twins Kaylee and Lance Stone, who discover a comic book that gives them clues about the future of their lives as they are suddenly thrust into a comic book world of danger, fear, and uncertainty. The twins learn that the Dark Oracle has a hidden agenda that threatens their very existence. In a unique blend of live action and comic book style animation, the two confront their animated alter egos, Violet and Blaze, who possess the uncanny ability to manipulate their future, with events in the comic book taking place in the comic book world influencing the real one, or the world of their own. Callie and Lance struggle to stay one step ahead of their dark counterparts and face unpleasant fates. The stakes become higher and higher still, with Violet and Blaze trying to escape into the real world and wreak further havoc. Now, this show was cancelled, much to my dismay. It only has 2 seasons, and I think it's not as popular because it's a Canadian TV show. And, it's also celebrating its 20 years, 20th anniversary rather, by a production company called Wild Brain. I absolutely love the show. It was released on a Canadian TV network called YTV. And I've never come across a human being who has watched this show. Some comments have said, I loved this show, but I never heard of anyone talk about it. Same. It was cheesy at the time, but I loved the concept. I actually wouldn't mind a remake of this show that's not afraid to go completely dark. I don't know how I feel about the completely dark aspect, but I think there are ways in which they could delve into, not to make it too horror-y, otherwise then I won't watch it, but there are ways in which they can remake the TV show, which I think I would absolutely love. Other people have said, I forgot about it till now, doesn't look as edgy or emo as I remember. The main girl kind of looks like a young Kristen Stewart. That is so true. Or a Nicole from Zoe 101. Someone else has said, yes, I've rewatched this whole series recently. It's all on YouTube. I remember this being quite cheesy, but it had a goth character that I was absolutely into. It was very gothic. I do remember it being very gothic and emo, but I don't think that was the draw card for me. I just loved the show, and I can't tell you why. I really can't tell you why. Someone else has said, I've got this classic on DVD, one of the first TV sets I purchased while I was in high school, along with Delta State and Vampire High. Someone else said, Sage was so cute. Sage was one of the characters in the show, and they're saying she was so cute. Was the show cancelled, or did the writers decide to end the series at season 2? I need some sort of closure from the writers. There are a lot of questions to be answered. I agree. I think the show should have continued for maybe at least a 3rd and 4th season, even 5th, to kind of just like really tie it in properly. I think it had so much potential. Like, there's just a whole bunch of loose ends and questions around, the show that I just feel have been left unattended. That is my absolute favorite live action TV show of all time, Dark Oracle. But it's also a show that absolutely no one remembers. I would love to hear what that show is for you. What is your favorite live TV show of all time, childhood TV show of all time? It can be from Nickelodeon, it can be from Disney. Maybe throw in some of the other ones that, one would not consider. I'd absolutely love to hear that from you. We were delving into a segment called Move Towards the Memory Mix, where we explored a hodgepodge of all things nostalgia. We're celebrating Hannah Montana as, an anniversary special is set to debut on Disney Plus on the 24th of March. We took a close look at our top 10 favorite TV shows of all time, live action TV shows of all time, childhood TV shows of all time. We looked at an Easter egg that tickled me sideways. Maybe it would have tickled you sideways, but it tickled me sideways. And we also spoke about, a show that a show that I absolutely loved, but no one remembers. And I'd love to hear what yours is. Thank you for joining me today, darling. And I hope to catch you on the next one. You were watching sSoRadio.
I'm going back to the past. It really been minimal.